And I think it was one of those biohacking things that I did that helped me make changes without feeling that mental fatigueness from making those changes. Because you have to support your mental health, and you have to realize that your diet does impact your mental health, and gluten does impact your mental health. I mean, there's case studies that show it. Like I had referenced the schizophrenic case study where they were, they eliminated gluten from their diet and they all improved. I feel like when people start making changes, you have to really invest in that change. And that's why I always recommend doing small changes one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, because a lot of times those one changes are going to reveal other underlying health issues.
Again, at the same time, do I want to get to the point where I want to eat sugar? Because I know so much research around how it's literally poison to the body. So it makes me sad that I know the truth. So,
Understand, if you want to take anything from our experiences, just understand that sugar can be an addiction. And it does give you stress relief and pain relief properties because it's triggering your brain to release that dopamine. So for me, when I understood that, even now, I'm able to move forward with so much clarity. Healing Graves holistically, there's not much out there at all. We're kind of in this unknown territory. So we're inviting you guys into our personal journey. We may not know all the answer, but guess what? We're going to try to figure it out as much as we can.
Hello, my name is Meron and I'm based in the UK and I'm the founder of Loving Me Kindly.
And my name is Priscilla and I'm based in the United States and I'm the founder of Healing Unapologetically.
Together we are co-hosting our podcast, Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease. Over the last few years, since being diagnosed with Graves' disease, we have fought to gain our lives back and are both living medication-free.
We are not medical experts. However, through our experience of dealing with this disease, we have learned so much and want to share our journey of healing and self-discovery.
We have come to realize that trusting our instincts and intuition has helped us lead healthier lives, and our goal with these podcasts is to empower and inspire you.
Everybody, I hope you're enjoying our episodes. I hope you've enjoyed season 1 and you're enjoying the beginning of season 2. We are talking about the topic of diet and all things related to diet. And I was re-listening to season 1. Sometimes when I have a low, sad, bad day, I end up listening to our podcast and it always makes me feel good. It's not me just tooting our own. It's just something comforting, and I'm learning from past me and past you, because obviously you've been through that. And there's so many tips in there. Although we're just navigating it, we're just going along and just trying our best to make sense of this complex world. It's so therapeutic. So I found it really lovely. And then I remember I think it's final episode of season 1, we said we told everyone we're going to do season 2 and we're going to talk about diet, and we mentioned that we might do a whole episode on sugar, and I've been waiting for that episode. So today's episode is about sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar. Honey. I wanted to say that. And I don't know which angle I'm even going to take on this episode.
Okay.
I have so many different emotions towards sugar, and I'm interested to see your journey as well with sugar, and maybe others as well. So I also want to just say thank you everybody to doing our polls. It's so lovely to see, and it makes us feel like a community when I'm seeing people taking part in the polls, and it helps you
like they're part of the conversation, right?
Yeah, please just keep doing it. Just answer those questions. I don't know what today's poll will be. I wonder what we want to know about people's struggles with sugar.
I think I have a suggestion but it'll connect to my angle with sugar.
Is it?
Well, it's the fact that sugar is a addiction because it triggers dopamine, which translate to pleasure, pain relief, and stress relief. So my angle is, I knew I had to give up sugar, but I feel like I understood the science behind my sugar addiction now. I just learned about that now. So it's interesting how, for me, I feel like my health journey happened wow. I'm it happened back in 2018. So, but it's interesting to see, like, to be able to go back and connect all the changes that I made. And I'm like finding all the like science behind why it was so effective. Like I knew in the moment and I was doing my research, but it's so amazing how much that science has evolved and how much more people are talking about it. And then it just brings so much more clarity to my health journey and my health decisions. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why, it makes so much sense why I had such a high sugar, high carb diet, even though in the moment I just knew it was very out of balance. But now I've been able to identify that sugar, diet as just sugar addiction. Because for me, it was my pain relief. It was my stress reducer. So that's why I was going to food the way that I was using it, because it was helping me kind of numb out temporarily the chronic pain I was in and all the chronic, symptoms and issues that I was dealing with. Mm-hmm.
That's so huge because when you said that, I also I've not said it. I don't think I've actually said it out loud before. Before that, I think I was addicted to sugar, but I mean, I've never said it. That's you. When did you claim it? When did you say I am Priscilla and I am addicted to sugar? When was that?
So funny. Because like, just to bring you a little bit of backstory, when you reached out to me to say, hey, we need to record the sugar episode because, we mentioned it back in season 1. I was literally had just saw this post by Dr. Berg where he's talking about this, how sugar, it's almost used as well for like food industry, like in like chemistry, to put a certain amount of sugar in food so you can trigger that dopamine in your brain, so you can get that pleasure, that stress relief, so you can get that hit. So processed food is designed to give you that hit, that sugar hit. So when I was hearing him explain that and then mention how that triggers pleasure, but it triggers pain relief, it triggers stress relief, it just connected all the dots in the relationship that I had with sugar. But it also made sense why when I was making my diet changes, I wasn't missing sugar because I was no longer in chronic pain. I was healing. I was getting better. So my relationship with sugar wasn't because I just loved to eat sugar. It was an addiction. It was a pain relief for me. So as I got better, I didn't need it as much. I didn't need it at all. I was using like coconut sugar, honey, and maple syrup. But when I got to the point, when I had to like deal with candida overgrowth, I eliminated even all the natural sugars. That's what got me to really like stand back and look at my relationship with sugar, because now I was going like 0 sugar. And then I did go through a sugar detox. So when you were reaching out to me about this, I was literally writing in the middle of like putting all my thoughts and experience into a blog. And because this information just highlighted and put so much light on the relationship that I had on sugar in a way that I never saw before. I always kind of chucked it off like I was an emotional eater, which goes hand in hand with addiction, sugar addiction, but it was so much more than that. So, yeah.
I love conversations like this. And you know what? Because I don't think a lot of people within the Graves' disease community, because it's such a small, I know a lot of people have been diagnosed, but the numbers aren't that high. It's going up, but it's not as high as the other diseases. I don't know. I feel so we don't really get to sort of talk to one another. So my moment to discuss my journey and get validation or understanding is when I talk to you, and we've not spoken about sugar. So that's so interesting to me. Firstly, many questions. So, you said you went 0 sugar. How long did you do that for?
Okay, so I waited till I was in thyroid remission to tackle candida overgrowth. And so in May of 2018, I was in thyroid remission. And I want to say by July of 2018 is when I was like, I need to cut it out completely. So between July and like the holiday, I was like end of 2018. I want to say I was more hardcore July, August, September, October, probably like 3 months hardcore of zero sugar. Gosh, maybe even longer. I want to say during the holiday, I made exceptions maybe here and there, but very rare. Like I would have a banana with almond butter. I would make my own desserts. But to say completely zero sugar carnivore style, 3 to 4 months.
Zero sugar. Wow.
Yeah. And it was a rough detox. It was rough.
Oh.
And I remember, I was on the podcast Women of the Wild, I believe. Women of the Wild.
Oh,
back.
yes.
And we were talking about, she was asking me about the Graves journey and sugar came up. And I remember she asked me, how was your sugar detox? And within my conversation, I kind of like, detoured away and forgot to really answer that whole question. But I remember she asked me like, how was that like? And I was just like, it was horrible. It was bad. But, I never thought about people wanting to hear, that aspect of detoxing from sugar. And you know what I mean? Like I didn't realize how,
I didn't
how much
know
curiosity.
until
Yeah.
now. I want
Yeah.
to know about this sugar. I mean, I've detoxed from so many things, but really and truly, I think I've done so well. When I think about it, I've done so well with reducing sugar. But no, I have not eliminated sugar completely. I didn't even think it was possible, Priscilla, to be honest, because
Yeah.
you, especially before the time of the month, I don't know if you get the sugar craving just before your period
I
comes.
get more hungry. I just want to eat.
You just get more hungry. You don't have the
Yeah.
sweet tooth. That doesn't happen to you.
I mean, like, of course, I don't have a specific, like, I want this type of dessert. I just feel hungry all the time. Like, I need to eat. Sometimes I'll do like Ezekiel bread with butter. Like, I just like satisfy that hunger. It's not so much
Not
about
the
a
sweet.
specific. Yeah.
Because that's when it's tough. Like hormone, I literally am a slave to the sugar. Like I need it, but obviously I'll choose a healthy alternative now. But I've never completely eliminated it, and I not heard anybody else that has. So I want to know about that journey, and also something must have really triggered you to think, I'm cutting this out, eliminating this.
Yes, and that's the candida overgrowth. So the backstory behind me getting it's called thrush. I got candida overgrowth on my tongue. So your tongue kind of gets this white coating. And that happened at the end of 2017, soon after I was diagnosed with Graves. And I was taking methimazole for like a week and a half before I had to stop because we all know I had a bad reaction. That 1 week and a half on methimazole destroyed the very little immune system that I had. So within the last month and a half, I was getting sick. Like I was getting a viral bacterial infection in my throat. I was getting sinus infection. And the last thing I got was an ear infection. So I was such a mess in December by Christmas that, and I was in so much pain that I went to go see my doctor and he, was like, you got to take antibiotics. So at that time, like I was just, everything the doctor said wasn't questioned. I just took it. And within a few days of taking antibiotics, I developed oral thrush. Now, after I did that, I looked at the back of the side effects on antibiotics and it literally had a warning for people with autoimmune diseases that you may develop oral thrush because your immune system is just like your gut bacteria and everything is just completely like done, that the antibiotic just destroys whatever little health you have at that point and you can develop candida overgrowth. So it's ironic that, back in 2018, after I healed Graves, now I had to deal with the side effect that came from taking medication, from being sick, from my diagnosis of Graves, that I developed this whole new thing, which was oral thrush. It was just so frustrating. I feel like candida overgrowth was, it's just, ugh, it just makes you feel gross. You have a white coat on your tongue. It's just not, to me.
I feel like I've asked you before, but I don't think I know really what oral thrush is.
Oral thrush, babies get oral thrush. It's like just this white coating. It's more common in babies. And candida is something that's naturally in your body. We all have that bacteria. But what happens is when candida overgrowth, it overgrows and you have more of it than it should be in balance, you start to get all these symptoms, gut symptoms, oral thrush. You can, it just creates havoc in the body once it's out of balance. So for me, it manifested as oral thrush, or maybe I was already borderline had candida overgrowth and I just didn't know it because I had such bad gut health. I had leaky gut at that point that, taking that last round of antibiotics. And the other thing I want to mention is that was in 2017 when I took that antibiotic and I got oral thrush. But the previous 2 years, so in 2016 and 2015, I was starting to develop this like annual cold that I would get. And it would be the same time every year. And I was starting to just like routinely go see my doctor and take antibiotics. So this was my 3rd year in a row where I was like getting that routine sickness, like sinus infection, and I was taking antibiotics. So maybe it had to do a little bit with that, with the fact that not only had I now developed an autoimmune disease by the 3rd year, and but taking another round of antibiotics and I think it was one of those biohacking things that I did that helped me make changes without feeling that mental fatigueness from making those changes, because you have to support your mental health and you have to realize that your diet does impact your mental health, and gluten does impact your mental health. I mean, there's case studies that show it. Like I had referenced the schizophrenic case study where they were, they eliminated gluten from their diet and they all improved. So I feel like when people start making changes, you have to really invest in that change. And that's why I always recommend doing small changes one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself, because a lot of times those one changes are going to reveal other underlying health issues. And you need to be prepared to tweak it and make more changes to support yourself through those changes, right? And I did that as well with my sugar detox when I eliminated it, and we'll get into it too. So with gluten, you have to be prepared to not to say I'm eliminating gluten and that's it. And if I eliminate it, that's the magic miracle pill that's going to solve everything. No, you can eliminate it, but it can reveal other health issues that you're dealing with, like leaky gut. It could reveal that you're, completely depleted of a lot of nutrients. You can be depleted of your B vitamins. And I think when I hear someone talk about mental health and gluten elimination, I automatically think B vitamins. Like, there's something there, depletion that's occurring at a cellular level that you can't see, but you're definitely feeling. And I'll try to do a little bit more research, but yeah, if you want to give your feedback.
This is why I love talking to you. This is why, because for anybody listening, don't do what I did then. Don't blindly do something because you're so desperate to do it, because it's better to do a bit of the research. But that's the thing, you are sort of so in that desperate place and you're frantically searching for that research to help you feel better again. I didn't know that about the vitamin B, because the key thing that you said there is that doing an elimination diet will affect your mental health, because you're not necessarily thinking that. You're thinking about your body's health, and obviously everything is linked. We know that. But to be fair, I actually didn't put those two together. And we were supposed to record a podcast, but I wasn't well enough to do it a week ago, wasn't it? Because I was rattling like my mind thinking, when did I have gluten? Because of the symptoms that I was feeling. I know gluten, when gluten's come into my system. I know when that is. And I sent you a voice message, and but the mental health that went along with it really is just so scary. I think when things affect your mental health, that's when it gets really scary. And that's when you're not even in the right health to even try to figure out what's going on with you. And then you go down, you start to feel low, you start to go, you're just back in that dark space again, and it's not a nice feeling. But knowing now the link, so next time if it ever happens, and I hope it doesn't, because I'm so committed to making sure I don't have gluten, but it's always in some sneaky recipes. If I go through the panic attack, anxiety attack, then at least I can say to myself, okay, Marin, you know that this is part of the process of eliminating the gluten. And that helps in itself. That's comforting. Whereas what's happening, what is this? It just helped me so much there hearing that. So I'm going to definitely do the research and see that next time if I have gluten, that by supplementing vitamin B, will that combat those symptoms and then help me not have to go through that. And I don't know if other people, I don't know if your symptoms are similar to mine. If when you have gluten, does it affect your mental health?
I mean, like now, no. I can have gluten and I have zero effects. But I think it's because gluten isn't linked. I have my gut health, and I get my nutrition out of real food. And if I were to have gluten, it's not part of my my diet. It's just like my daily diet. So if I happen to have something that's gluten, I mean, it's just the only thing is,
I mean, you said once you're healing faster than your body is like healing faster than it's not. Whereas when you
that's basically health. The overall concept of health, no matter if you have an autoimmune disease or it's just aging, okay? The ticking time clock is you want to be healing and recuperating faster than you are breaking down. It doesn't matter if you have an autoimmune disease, and it doesn't matter if you have nothing and you're just growing old. Okay. That is literally the difference between health and death. Okay. So you want to be recuperating faster and faster than you are breaking down. But of course, as you age, a lot of things slow down, and, age just kind of takes over, and that's life. But when you start throwing in diseases, and you're throwing it in at an age group that is supposed to be strong, healthy, vibrant, at their peak, and they're breaking down faster than they're building up, that's a tragedy. We shouldn't be accepting that as our norm. And nowadays you're seeing more and more people getting sick at a younger age, and that's not normal. Okay. The process of life is natural in that course of aging is natural. Of course, that's always going to happen, but you don't want that happening at such a young age, where it's like chronic diseases and illnesses and autoimmune diseases are just ramping up that time clock. And you're seeing a lot of young people breaking down faster than they are healing, that they are recuperating. So in general, that should be your overall perspective when it comes to health. You always want to be, and when you're making when you're making any lifestyle changes, you want it to support you building up, you restoring yourself and your health, right? It should be changes that support that natural mechanism of building health quicker than you are breaking down. So there's some go ahead. I'm just doing a little bit of side research while we're talking.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, you shouldn't be generally living a life where you have to avoid foods and things like that. If you have health, like you said, you're healing faster than you're breaking down, then everything should be fine. Your body's working in homeostasis and balance. It's getting rid of what it needs to get rid of and taking in what it needs to take in. Generally, you shouldn't have to avoid such things. But when you have an autoimmune, it is in your best interest to avoid such things until you heal your gut lining, until your body goes back into homeostasis, until it knows how to do things back in balance again. And then, like you said you can have gluten from time to time, and I'm sure you can have sugar as well from time to time. So at the same, that's very telling as well, that let's say the day that I can have gluten and not react, that means I've definitely healed my gut lining, and I'm doing so much better than I ever thought I could. And also with sugar, because it makes me sad, especially with sugar. And that's something I know we're going to talk about. That you see so many people enjoying themselves with sugar, and especially now with Christmas coming, it's it can, I'm sorry to say, Priscilla, it can feel sad. Or I am thinking of, okay, I'll do an alternative mince pie, or I'll do alternative this and that, but it's never really the same. So it makes me so upset. I'm so angry at sugar. That's where my stance is with sugar. I'm angry at it. And even when my husband eats something in front of me, I'm like, no, enjoy yourself. It's fine. It's fine. People around me always say, "Oh, yeah, sorry." And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'll watch you enjoy it. But I would love to, just can't wait to get to the point. But then again, at the same time, do I want to get to the point where I want to eat sugar? Because I know so much research around how it's literally poison to the body. So it makes me sad that I know the truth. I know the truth. So, once you know the truth,
Well,
it sets you free, but it also makes you
I feel
sad.
like one thing you're saying that I feel like that I've been able to connect right now and understand why, for me, eliminating sugar and how I feel about sugar is just completely transformed. Like, I think, when I was maybe at one point, the idea of eliminating sugar or even gluten, I want to say in my late 20s, was very hard. Like, it made me sad to think about doing that. But when I got to the point where I was diagnosed with Graves' disease and I was making all those changes, my viewpoint on food in general just changed. So I feel like one of the underlining tell-all signs that you could be having a sugar addiction is the idea of losing it makes you want to cry. You're just like, no, I need sugar. I can't wait. And I've heard my husband's that same way. Like, if I bake something and it's like with coconut sugar or maple syrup, I'm always like trying to get his input because he has the biggest like sugars. Like, for him, sugar, he can't eliminate sugar. Like, sugar is the real deal. And I'm just like, no, it's not. This is the real deal. But if I give him something, he's just like, it's okay. It's okay for it, for it being what it is. And I'm just like, but this is how sugar was made to be enjoyed. And, but,
Yeah.
so it reminds me of that. Like, when you think of refined sugar and you think of sweets, you always think that that's the real deal, like, I can't wait to have that. Yes. And then when you think of eating something that's made with honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, or stevia, you're just like, it's okay. It's, it's like the alternative. It's not as good as the real one. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And you could just see their faces in the confusion. Like, who?
Yeah. Like, what?
How? Where? What? How can you not have sugar? Like, what?
Oh, yeah. It's a very touchy subject.
Explain it. It's a touchy subject.
It is a very touchy subject.
Are you lying? If you don't want to take my biscuit, just don't take it. I think, I don't know. Who knows?
No, people. Okay.
No, it's frustrating. It's really hard. It's hard.
You kind of reminded me of just even, I remember when I first got diagnosed, it was like right before the holidays. And I had made a commitment that I was making dietary changes. And this was through Christmas time. And it's funny that we're talking about this because I wrote a blog post on like how to survive the holidays when you're dealing with an autoimmune disease. Okay. And because for me, it's such like a personal experience because I was literally diagnosed on Halloween. And then I had Thanksgiving, which I was like lethargic and in my room because I was dealing with methimazole, like vegging me out like a vegetable. And then I had, then it was like Christmas. And by Christmas, I was like, I am done. I went through, I've been having chronic illnesses and diseases. That sucks. Now I had dealt with methimazole and I was like, my body just can't take it anymore. And by Christmas, I was like, I'm going to make changes. I need to make food changes. I already knew about gluten. So I started there and then I went like paleo, I think at that point, or paleo or keto. I did a keto diet. My family, and I'm not going to name a family member, not like anyone like in my immediate family. So this is like, was like shoving like these whoopie pies and kept offering me whoopie pies. Oh, here, you have a whoopie pie. And at first it started like, like a common courtesy, like, hey, everybody, like, I have whoopie pies. But then it was like by day 2, it was like, she was like shoving it in my face. And I realized that people are going to get uncomfortable when you make these changes because either you're triggering them because they want to make those changes and let's say they're not comfortable with their health decision, right? Maybe that person normally won't eat whoopie pies, but because it's the holidays, they're going to splurge. And then when they see someone who's not, you're kind of like the Grinch and you're ruining it for them. You know what I mean?
It's exactly why.
So you have to ignore it. You cannot care. This,
But
you literally,
it's
exactly.
my prerogative.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if I'm sick in bed for a whole week, no one's helping me. Like, I'm in that
Yeah.
on my own. So just to satisfy people's
Exactly.
how they're feeling and their awkwardness or whatever, I get sick. And guess what?
No.
Because I
Yeah.
used to people please, I think I used to do that. I used to
Yeah.
actually do that just to avoid, awkward situations. I don't do that anymore. I
No, no, no.
advocate for me, but
Yeah.
it does cause situations. Like you said, they
Yeah.
don't stop asking. And then guess
Mm.
what? Let me tell you the truth. The truth is I want the whoopie pie, okay? But the time you keep shoving it in my face, I
Yeah.
might just have it because guess what?
Yeah.
They say sugar is even more addictive than heroin. I could swear I have read that somewhere. So
Hmm.
it hurts me that you're shoving that whoopie pie because yes, the inner me wants that whoopie pie. Do you know how hard
Yeah.
it is for me to say no and and not betray myself? Like I'm sticking up for me and advocating for me by saying no. And every time you ask me, and every time you shove it, and every time you force me, it's just so hard. It's hard for that
Yeah.
person who's trying to be courageous enough to stand up and say, this doesn't work for me. I'm choosing healing and health.
Hmm.
That's hard to do. It's easy to just have the pie and get all those sugary
Yeah. The
feelings
feel
and feel good
good
again.
pleasure and yeah.
But
And
yeah,
you do have to, like, the one thing I recommend is you do have to be comfortable with saying no thank you
yeah, a million
over
times,
and
unfortunately.
yes, no thank you, I'm okay, no thank, just keep it simple. If you're having someone that's that persistent, no thank you, really, I'm fine, you enjoy it, and just be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Because I in my blog I explained that you're trying to pick the least stressor of the situation. And for me, when I was first diagnosed, when I had made those changes, I just explained that I was coming off of a horrible reaction to methimazole. My immune system was completely shot. I was still dealing with graves. Food was causing more of a stressor in my system than for me to have to say no to someone, right? I knew
Yeah,
that if I
exactly.
incorporated that inflammatory diet into my system, it was going to be like wildfire. And we always describe chronic symptom kind of like wildfire in
Yes.
my body. And that was to me the stressor that I was trying to avoid. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a stress free life. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, stress is always around us, but you have to learn to start picking the least stressors of the situation. And for me, that was way less stressful for my whole body to say no to those foods than it was to have to deal with an annoying family member. You know what I mean?
Hit it
Having to say no
on
or no, thank you.
you
Mhm.
get to that point where it's not worth you getting that sick. It is not
Mhm.
worth it at all. So it's easier to advocate, but at the end of it's still an awkward situation. And there is a
Yeah.
part
Oh,
of
for
you
sure.
that does want that, obviously. So many things that I miss that I want so much, but I know it's not
One
worth
thing
it happening.
that I want to remind everybody is that we are a creature of habits. And a lot of times your brain is thinking, oh gosh, but that whoopie pie, like, I just want it. Sometimes you just operate out of just habits, right? That's why for me, I was so adamant about not having it. It wasn't so much that I was saying no to sugar, is I was saying no to a bad habit that I had developed for years. And that was food was my medicine. Food, I had an emotional relationship with food, or an addiction with food, in a way that it was not healthy. It was just numbing me out from reality. And I needed to break that cycle.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's kind of how I see making lifestyle changes. You're trying to break a cycle because we are a creature of habits, and you have to be able to pause and slow down and ask yourself, why am I repeating this behavior over and over again? Why? What am I getting out of it? What is it giving? Like, what's the trade-off here? And
It's about looking
so
after
yeah,
yourself, though. I like
yeah,
a therapist once said to me, "Well, it wasn't something sweet that I ate. It was just something else like cheese or something I knew that wasn't good for me, and I ate it anyway." And she said, "Well, clearly you're not looking after yourself." Like she
mm,
was so blunt about it, and it's
yeah,
good that she was, to be honest, because I was just like, "No, no, no, I am looking after myself. I've been doing this self care, that self care." Yeah, but you ate something that you knew was going to hurt you. So you're
Yeah.
not looking after yourself. It's like, no, no, no. And she's like,
But you don't see it like that.
you don't. I'm like, oh my gosh, by making certain decisions, I'm hurting myself. But I'm trying to do everything I can to heal and do well and do self-care. But actually, yes, there are certain choices that you make are hurting you. You, no one else is doing it. You. So sometimes your worst enemy is yourself, really. And it's about healing on so many levels so that you don't need that addiction anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's such a
Yes.
full of healing that goes on. Why? Why do you need that sugar? Why do you need that hit? What emotional things are you going through right now that you need to figure out, whether it's therapy, somatic exercises, or whatever it is to heal that? What is it that you need to do to heal that rather than need to get that, have that cookie? Because literally,
Yeah.
when you have something sugary, it's because you're feeling something. It's usually to feel good, or you've had a
Yeah.
good day, you have something sweet. You have a bad day, so you
You
have something
celebrate
sweet.
food.
It's an
Yeah.
emotional thing, right? So
It's like you use it to celebrate, and you use it to comfort. And
yeah, you have to look deep, and that's
yeah.
what helps you fully heal. That's why actually sometimes that's why I wrote Dear Graves, thank you in a way, because it's because of the autoimmune disease that I have now that's helped me look deeper into my life and realize, oh my gosh, I never look after myself. I have issues with self. I didn't think I was enough. There was so many things. It just put the microscope into my heart, if that makes sense. And I had so much healing to do. So the Meron that is now versus 10 years ago when I was diagnosed is literally like a 3.0 because, but it's up to you to choose how you're going to use this. Do you know what I mean? Use the situation. Are you going to use it to better yourself, or are you going to use it to carry on hurting yourself? Or, and I think ultimately a lot of it is about advocating for you. It's about self-empowerment. It really is. I'm not tolerating that, person anymore. I'm not tolerating being treated like this anymore. I have self-esteem. I have self-worth. I know what I'm worth, so I'm not going to eat that food because I know that I'm worth a healthy body. Literally, it's so deep. It is so much deeper than just having something sweet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and I think that's the revelation that I had recently with sugar was that, like, this makes so much sense why a lot of people feel like, and I thought about that quote that you said, you're having a sad relationship with food. When you have an autoimmune disease, you have a sad relationship with food. And so I think when you're able to start identifying, okay, well, first of all, food shouldn't be a relationship. Food should be literally fuel to get you through the day. Nourishment. Yeah. And if you find yourself saying these words, like, replace it. Food is nourishing my body. It shouldn't be pleasure. It shouldn't be connected with good, just for celebration or for comfort. It should be nourishment. Food is nourishing. And you have to realize that you're really dealing with something very, very real. And addiction it's, I don't want to say it's a disease, but there's a lot of underlining.
It is. It's like an alcohol addiction. Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, it's like a disease.
It's a disease in itself. Yeah.
So there's layers to it. So maybe you can't just go cold turkey. Maybe you need to start implementing different changes, and you have to start looking at maybe some type of other supplementations. Like other supplementations I took were digestive enzymes and a probiotic. You need to build yourself up to have success. And I realized that a lot of people are like, I'm going to cut sugar out, and they don't do anything to help support that one decision. Exactly. You have to know exactly what you're going to eat, the diet that you're going to be consuming, like your meals, before you're saying, I'm just going to eliminate it, because it's going to be really hard.
Why?
You have to know why.
Know your why. With sugar, I wrote down, activates inflammatory immune cells. So if your body, like we said, is already on fire, it's already inflamed, fire everywhere, and you're just consuming sugar, you're just exasperating that fire. So A, you don't want to do that. B, sometimes it's actually like a gut thing. If your gut is in dysbiosis, and you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, that bad bacteria is sending signals to your brain saying, give me sugar, give me sugar, give me sugar.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why you have to stop having that sugar, so that you can suppress the bad bacteria and allow the good one to flourish. So knowing
Yeah.
your why gives you so much power to know to remind yourself every time why you're saying no to something and why you're choosing that thing, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. So it's
Oh,
really
oh my
important
God.
to know your why.
You mentioned exactly the reason why I decided to eliminate sugar, because sugar is Candida's food.
Yeah.
It feeds off of sugar. So I don't like so for me, the reason why I was like, I need to say no to sugar wasn't just because I just wanted to try something new. I did a lot of research. I followed several doctors, but one specifically was Dr. Sean Baker. He does a carnivore diet. He's been like, I want to say eight to maybe 10 plus years on a carnivore diet, or maybe even more. So all of my information came from doctor sources, but I learned through all of that too, that my sugar, even the natural sugar, is feeding Candida. And as long as I'm having that sugar in my system, Candida is going to be there. And I already have an abundance of Candida. I already have too much of it. So even the little healthy sugar that I was eating was still enough to keep it there. And that's why I decided that I had to eliminate sugar. And, so you had mentioned about that bacteria. So so that's when I found, I learned about Dr. Sean Baker, and the carnivore diet. There's a lot of other resources of people who, really do, testify that it's helped with healing autoimmune diseases. And, it's been very effective for individuals. And, so I knew that when I eliminated sugar, I was going to my diet was going to be carnivore, like I had that replacement. And I did so well that I started to be able to intermittent fast. So get this, as soon as I eliminated sugar, I want to say maybe, let's get to the detox part. The hard part was the detox part, right? Not because I was craving sugar, but because my body was having physical symptoms of withdrawal. Okay. I was going through withdrawal. I was feeling puffy in the face. I was feeling anger. I was feeling, I had actual, like a little bit of like, what is it? My liver, like right below what's that? The bile? What's that?
The bile duct.
Yeah, the bile duct. The gallbladder. The gallbladder, I was starting to get kind of pain in that area. I knew that my body was having a hard time now going from burning sugar as my main source for energy to burning fat as my main source of energy. Because that's the biggest transition that happens when you eliminate sugar. Now, carbs aren't your main fuel burning energy source. Now it's fat. So I was feeling physical pain. My body was releasing toxins from candida overgrowth. So on top of the sugar withdrawal, I was having candida, they call it die-off symptoms. And I was angry and I was in pain and my face was puffy. I was tired. I probably went 2 weeks feeling those symptoms on and off, like in waves. I incorporated activated charcoal to help bind the toxins that my body was releasing. So I wasn't repeating this cycle of toxins released, reabsorbed, toxin released, reabsorbed. So the activated charcoal was, when the toxins being released, it was attaching to that toxin and was being eliminated. So I was starting to incorporate, this is where I'm telling you, you always have to be investigating the changes that you're making. Do not make too many, because when I eliminated sugar, I had to be vigilant, and I was starting to feel, other pain, like other symptoms, like my gallbladder having now to process more fat, and I had to be ready to make changes for that. So now came in the activated charcoal. I slowed down my fat intake just so that it can give my gallbladder a chance to not be so overworked. And then I started to do intermittent fasting.
Because you're strong enough to? Because you were strong enough to?
Because I wasn't as hungry anymore. I had more energy and I just felt more satisfied. So intermittent fasting just kind of, at that point, I've done some form of it, like maybe like a 14 to 16 hour fast. Of course, I did all of this when my thyroid was already in remission. But not not for like a conscious decision. I just think that during the time that I was healing Graves, it just intermittent fasting never like crossed my mind. And it wasn't until I was doing all this research with Candida that intermittent fasting was introduced. Because remember, you're trying to eliminate sugar. So intermittent fasting works very well with that because you're not eating as much throughout the day, right? So I went from like doing 16, 18-hour fasts to be able to do, they call it 1 meal a day, the nomad diet. So it's like you're almost doing a 24-hour fast. And at this point, I want to say that my health just like biohacked. I eliminated Candida. My hormones regulated. My period got more consistency. My skin started to clear up. I lost more weight. I got stronger. I was back squatting 20 pounds over my own body weight. And that was like unsupported. Like I wasn't trying to hit a personal PR, but that's what I can do without assistance. I was in this routine of waking up super early every day. My mornings, like my days started really early so I can squeeze in my workout, but I had energy throughout the day. It's just my life literally just, now it was about living. It wasn't about healing anymore. It was about living. And I was tapping into all these things that I enjoyed and I loved. And my mind wasn't thinking about food, about sugar, or what I wasn't eating. I was just focused on living. And, I met my husband and just things just started to align so much easier. When you just focus on living, and
you just remove sugar.
Yeah, remove sugar. And I'm going to say a very controversial opinion, but I personally believe in animal protein and animal fat. I feel like that was probably the best that I've ever felt. I've never eliminated, like during my healing, animal products. I've experimented with before I was like just in life, had nothing to do with my autoimmune disease, but I would experiment with like a vegan diet and just for the heck of like trying to get healthy. Like my idea before really understanding and researching and learning about health was, I can do like a vegan diet or a smoothie diet. And, those things are not sustainable, never have been sustainable for me. And, so when I was now seriously having to heal from an autoimmune disease and I was doing all my research, every single doctor for the majority really believed in animal protein. And I had a few that were like Dr. Mark, Dr. Sean Baker, and I want to say Dr. Ken Berry were probably the biggest advocates for carnivore / keto. Well, Dr. Berry may be more keto carnivore. Dr. Sean Baker is full carnivore. Yeah, so it really like spoke to me. I think that's why I never had a quote unquote sad relationship with food when I was healing, because my body always felt satisfied. I felt good on eating protein, healthy fats. I deal with like detox and withdrawals and discomfort? Yes. But I feel like you always have to be ready to support those struggles that you're dealing with before you move forward. So I want to say, like, for instance, right now that you're trying to eliminate gluten, you had mentioned these struggles. You feel like you're mentally fatigued from doing it. You feel like you were mentioning all these other issues from when you eliminated gluten. So I would tell you to focus on how do you fix those struggles. Don't go back on, this is just too hard and I can't eliminate gluten. No, your body's telling you something. You eliminated gluten and now you're feeling all these other symptoms. So you need to understand why. And the same thing would go for sugar. If you start to eliminate sugar and you're dealing with symptoms, ask yourself, why am I dealing with this? And that, for me, I was realizing I was detoxing. I was releasing too many toxins that were being recycled back in. And my body was getting accustomed from changing from a sugar carb fueling system to now a fat fueling system, right? So those two things brought a lot of clarity to my struggles. So now I was more motivated because I knew, these struggles are purposeful. It's because of X, Y, and Z. So now I need to support X, Y, and Z so I can set myself up for success. Let's say if I ran into another issue, then of course you would have to go and, figure out everything. You literally have to be a detective on every little thing that you're processing and going through. And this is when you're eliminating or adding in. You just have to be vigilant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be your own detective, your own firefighter, your own advocate, your own everything. But oh my gosh, Priscilla, the amount of light bulb that went off when you were saying things.
Yeah.
Light bulb moment. Firstly, lately, I have started, I've changed up. I always have been focused on gut health, but it's so much to learn. So I'm learning so much about it over the years, but now I am just so determined to figure out what exactly, specifically, should I have for breakfast? Because I want to start my day right. And I've been watching people on YouTube and things like that. And I have, what I have now is, no, I'll say what I usually have. What I usually have is something that everyone might think is super healthy. So I have my porridge oats, but I put dates in it. I cut up dates and put that in there because I like I still need my sweet bits. And then sometimes I'll even
That's
add
okay.
in my head,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's not, sugar. It's natural.
Yeah.
So I'll put dates and I'll put raisins, banana. If you think about it, really, that's actually quite a lot of sugar. So whenever I have that, if you think oats is quite filling, I think that's a good breakfast, especially in the winter time here. But by the time I get to work, why am I so hungry? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why am I so hungry? And I'm now ravenous, going around work trying to find food before lunch. I haven't even made it to lunch. I've changed my breakfast to full fat goat yogurt, pumpkin seeds, blueberries, sometimes raspberries, and chia seeds. And I said to my husband, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even need to eat until like 3 p.m. I felt full. I felt full." And what I understood from what I've been reading is basically, if you think about it, like you just mentioned about the fat, I'm going down that avenue now of like eating fats, because you think when you have an autoimmune disease that you gain weight, you struggle with weight stuff. So anything to do with fat, no, I don't want that. I don't want to add anything that's going to make you think is going to make you gain weight or anything like that. But actually your thyroid needs it. Your body needs fat. I'm trying to incorporate more avocados. Things have changed. I feel so good just by changing my breakfast, because carbs, that's a carby breakfast porridge. At the end of the day, it turns into carbs, especially if you've got a bit of sedentary lifestyle, you're not exercising it off. The dates, the raisins, or the banana that you think, do you know what I mean? How can one change make so much of a difference? Sugar, that is the common denominator. Before being diagnosed, we spoke about it in season 1, I drank a lot of alcohol. I just before being diagnosed, do you know what I used to do? Because my body used to crave sugar so much, but I'm not I was more of a savory person growing up, not a sugar person. I don't know when the change happened, but I started to need chocolate every day, especially specifically a Bounty. And just before being diagnosed, I would go and get, it's a tub of marshmallow, like that you can spread. It's American because I got it from a shop that sells American stuff. I can't remember what it's called, or something. I used to eat that with a spoon and get, that hit of pure. I mean, marshmallow is sugar and egg white or something, isn't it? Is that what it? I don't know. Meringue. What am I thinking of? Meringue, marshmallow, but it's just pure sugar. I used to eat that of the tub. I went all in on sugar, and after I got diagnosed, I carried on. I just needed, and I think it's that, despite that, your gut going off and just wanting sugar. And over time, unlike you eliminated it. I didn't eliminate it, but I did alternatives. But when you said it's good, but it's not good enough, because the body is still seeing whether it's refined sugar, unrefined, or whether it's natural or unnatural, it's still sort of processing. I mean, one turns straight into fructose, another one is at least takes the glucose, which is something that your body needs, right? If I have fruit, it will at least take the glucose from that and use it up and leave the rest. Whereas straight up sugar is just fructose in your system, and it does no good. It's literally poison. But I'm just seeing that just a small difference of my breakfast change can make and having like full on fat yogurt can make such a difference
Mhm.
that what if I go full on zero sugar just for like January's coming up. Everybody usually makes their
Yeah.
resolutions and everything. What if for
Yeah.
1 month I didn't have any sugar stuff because I've never tried that before. I really want to see the difference, and I'm going to do like a video diary of it because
Yeah.
I think that could be the missing thing. I'm feeling so much better just from one breakfast change. How can that
You
be?
see, when you said that you made a breakfast change, my mind was thinking, oh, she went from like a sugar to carb to like a fat or protein breakfast.
Mhm.
One or the other. Because that's the thing, healthy fats is going to keep you fuller longer. And that's why it's important to relearn your relationship with fats, because you mentioned fats are always associated with like gain weight. That's a lie. Okay. You have to look at the quality of fat you're eating. You have to look
Yeah.
at your good fats. That's why eliminating or minimizing the hydrogenated fats and like the seed oils and all that kind of stuff. Those fats, in my understanding and the research that I did, are not good for you. So I recommend
Healthy
healthy avocados, coconut oil,
avocado oil,
butter, you know, the
yogurt.
goat yogurt. You want to implement healthy fat, animal fat. You want to implement that because that's going to help you feel fuller longer. And that's why when I eliminated sugar and I did the carnivore diet, I realized that I was able to do just one meal. I got to the point where I was able to do intermittent fasting where I was just eating once a day because I was loading up on, I had my breakfast or my one meal a day was a big steak, scrambled eggs. I would add healthy fats like avocado. So I would have like slices of avocado there. Gosh, would I add, if I had enough time, I would have some bacon or whatever extra protein I have. But I remember it'd always be like a big fat steak and like eggs. And I felt so full and satisfied. It felt so good. And then I just have the rest of the day to just focus on everything else that life requires, and food wasn't a focus. And I feel like for a lot of people who struggle with sugar addiction or emotionally eating, food is such a focus on,
Yeah.
like,
Especially
what am
for
I going to eat?
autoimmune. What should I have? What can I have? What can I have? What can I have? What can I have? But when you
Mhm.
think about what change did I actually make in my mornings, I stopped feeding the bad bacteria really, and I fed the
Mhm.
good bacteria. And that's what
Mhm.
my whole diet thing now is all about: giving my gut what it needs. The sauerkraut,
Mhm.
the kimchi, the probiotic,
Mhm.
anything I can do that is for it. And when you just said that you felt so full having steaks and high protein and fat diet, when I was in Ethiopia, they don't really have desserts. It's not like a dessert
Mhm.
country. It's
Mhm.
it's it's protein and fiber, like
Mhm.
meat and fiber.
Mhm.
I do not feel hungry from. They fed me so well. I was I could have just survived on just breakfast, but no, there was lunch. I was like literally rolling into bed, so
Wow.
full. But guess what? I came back and I lost like 4 kilos. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to your mind because you think, oh my God, I've gained so much weight because I've been so
Yeah.
full and I'm still eating.
Yeah.
But you're
Mm.
eating protein,
Yeah.
fiber. That's
Mhm.
it. And it did wonders for me. And I didn't have to think about, does this have gluten? Does this have that? Does this have sugar? I didn't have, so technically I kind of didn't have sugar for a month.
Yeah.
But I did have
Yeah.
honey. But it was natural honey though. So technically, I still haven't gone zero. I'll still
Yeah.
try that in
Yeah.
January. But it just makes
Yeah.
sense, doesn't it? It
Yes.
makes sense
Oh,
to
yeah.
my body.
I think that the important thing here, if you're listening and you're wanting to understand your relationship with food, ask yourself like first, try to understand that it shouldn't be a relationship. It should be nourishing. I think that's a really good way to like switch. Important to make that switch with when it comes to like relating to food. Try to say, I don't have a relationship with food. It's like, how is food nourishing me? Second of all, just don't be too harsh on yourself, because I think that a lot of people are harsh because they feel bad they're not able to make these changes as quickly as other people, or they don't feel like they can sustain it. I think when you're at that point, you still are discovering a lot of your whys. So focus on, I think I hear my son crying. Focus on
It's a
your why.
marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, exactly.
It's a marathon, not a
Focus on your
sprint.
whys. What is it that the sugar is giving you? And understand, if you want to take anything from our experiences, just understand that sugar can be an addiction, and it does give you stress relief and pain relief properties because it's triggering your brain to release that dopamine. So for me, when I understood that, even now, I'm able to like move forward with so much clarity on just like what, like, just clarity with food and what it should mean. And I think that food should never be a stress reliever, should never be used as a pain reliever. But I understand why when you are dealing with an autoimmune disease.
Absolutely.
So
And
I see
a good way to start is to just change from unnatural to natural. Instead of having
yes,
something like
yes,
cupcake, have, I don't know,
and
a sweet fruit instead or something, or Sharon
yes,
fruit. They're quite sweet. just
and
make small
set your
changes.
and set yourself up for success. Like have go-to recipes. I think a lot of time people make these changes and they think they could just eliminate it. But when that craving hits or when that withdrawal hits, they are overwhelmed with how strong that feeling is. And they don't have a backup. They don't have a go-to. So a lot of times they'll go and just, eat something that they tried to eliminate and then they feel guilty. I think it's better to set yourself up to have those backups ready to go. And because it does trigger withdrawals, because in my experience, I went through withdrawal symptoms.
But like you said in another episode, you simplified it. You said instead of eliminating it, because that could be extreme, just add things. Because before you know it, all those things you added become your main, what you start eating, you've forgotten about all the other stuff. So just eat more fruits and more cook with coconut sugar or alternatives. And then over time you'll see. So it's like just a slow weaning. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey and enjoy finding out about yourself and your body.
Be vigilant when you're making changes. Listen to your body. Always ask why. Always investigate, and just take it that step at a time. And I'm telling you, it works because I not only am in thyroid remission, but I healed from Graves. I don't have the antibodies associated with Graves, so I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like it could be a lot more layers for individuals, but what I felt really helped me get to that, from point A to point B was that taking that time and taking my time and having that slow relationship with, okay, I made one change. Okay, why am I feeling X, Y, and Z symptoms? Okay, now I need to make these other changes, or now I need to support this change. Okay, and then how am I feeling? Like you literally have to take it step by step.
Absolutely.
I think
that's the gentle way as well. That's you being gentle. Exactly.
And sustainable, because you learn so much about yourself.
Exactly. So that's today's episode. A lot of information there for everybody, but thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's helped you in some small way, and get involved in our polls.
Yes. And join the conversation.
That is the end of this week's Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found it useful and enjoyable. Please do follow and subscribe to our podcast so that you are the first to hear about new episodes.
And if you're enjoying them, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this will help us so much. The bigger the show gets, the bigger the awareness raised.
You can find us on social media using the handle @lovingmekindly and also the handle @healing_unapologetically. Until next time.